Hello, guys. This is Nat Blue. I am marathoning the 2024 Player's Handbook videos that I have not watched to catch up a little bit. That's why my short is the same as it was in the last video. So today we are going to be jumping into the Ranger updates in the 2024 Player's Handbook. I'm excited about this one. My friend's favorite class is the Ranger. I've never played one. I do like the idea of the Gloomstalker and the Fey Wanderer. So I'm curious about the changes to this, and I just want to jump directly into this. That way we can try not to draw this out too long.
Today we are talking about a very big topic. We're talking about the Ranger, and we effectively have a brand new class with this Ranger.
Yeah, it is super exciting. The Ranger, more than any other class in the new Player's Handbook, is a new class. People got to see the evolution of the class through the Unearthed Arcana process, and now in the new Player's Handbook, you will get the brand new Ranger. And every facet of this class has been revisited, fine-tuned. The class has always been widely played, but in our satisfaction surveys over the years, the class has also been one of our lowest rated classes. And so the Ranger, along with the Monk, received major overhauls in.
So I am excited for this video because my friend likes the Ranger. I'm more excited for the Monk because I've been curious about the Monk, but all I've heard is how bad the Monk is. So I hope they get that released soon. It is not released yet. It looks like this is the last class-specific video that they've released as of the day that I'm recording this. They just released the spell casting video, so hopefully they get into the Monk soon because I'm curious.
The new Player's Handbook, with again the Ranger receiving such a major overhaul that again it's a brand new class.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in?
Yes, please.
Right away at first level, if you've played a Ranger over the past 10 years in 5th edition, you're going to see just how new it is because everything at first level is new. So first off, you get your spell casting now right away at first level. This is something we did in the Paladin as well in the new Player's Handbook. Spellcasting is a fundamental part of each of these classes' identities, and we no longer wanted these two classes to wait to get such a vital resource, partly because we also want people who are new to playing these classes to immediately get accustomed to integrating in the spell use that is a part of the hybrid nature of the Ranger and the Paladin.
Right.
These are the quintessential hybrid characters in D&D, going all the way back to 1st edition, that fuse weapon use with magic use. So spellcasting, it's at first level now for Rangers. Piggybacking on that, we also now have a brand new version of the Favored Enemy feature. And this feature now gives you the Hunter's Mark spell prepared all the time, and also gives you free castings of it a certain number of times per day. This is great because it means those castings will no longer compete with your spell casting as a Ranger if you want to do other things with your spells. Hunter's Mark is the way that you mark an enemy as your favored foe. It's going to make it so that you deal more damage to them. And if you're in a pursuit situation in your adventure, it means you're going to have an easier time of tracking them. Now we'll come back to this spell as we journey upward through the levels in this class, because we're going to see that the new Ranger then has that spell improved at later levels.
So just to make sure that I'm not confused here, they're saying instead of having a specific favorite enemy like a dragon, undead, that type of favorite enemy, whenever you cast Hunter's Mark, the target becomes your favorite enemy? Because I get where they're going if that's the case. I think the flavor of having a favorite enemy that's like hyper specific is nice. However, it doesn't come into play very often. So if you're playing a ranger, your favorite enemy is a dragon, most campaigns that aren't centered around dragons, you maybe go to see a couple. I mean, depending on the DM, how much they try to integrate your class into the campaign, you probably won't see a lot of dragons. So I'm curious about that.
But we're going to stay here at first level for now.
Okay.
Because also at first level, rangers get weapon mastery.
Yeah.
Having spell casting with sort of favorite enemy as the piggybacking on spell casting, that's the magic side of the ranger. Well, we also now have weapon mastery. And this means that rangers, like all of our classes that are getting weapon mastery, will get to enjoy the brand new tactical options that the weapon mastery system provides. And because rangers have a very broad weapon selection, that means I think we're going to see many different flavored rangers just in terms of their weapon use. At level 2, rangers get fighting style, which was a feature that the 2014 ranger had, and then also a new feature called Deft Explorer. And there was a version of Deft Explorer as an option in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The version that's now here in the new player's handbook gives you expertise in a skill of your choice that you have proficiency in, and also lets you pick 2 more languages that you know. This feature is all about the skillfulness that rangers traditionally have, particularly because of how much they roam. I mean, it's in the name. It's often easy to forget that what ranger is referring to is it is a person who ranges far and wide. And so seeing the world, particularly the natural world, but also the people who live in that world, is a really fundamental part of the ranger's identity. The other feature I mentioned at this level, fighting style, has been upgraded since its 2014 version because rangers are no longer limited to a sort of subsection of the fighting style options in the game. They, like paladins and fighters, can choose from the whole list of fighting style options that are now in the feat chapter of this book, and the number of options there is greater than the number of options in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Now, we also provided yet an additional choice in this fighting style feature. If you as a ranger player would rather your ranger lean more on the magic side of your class identity, you have the option of foregoing one of the fighting style feats, instead taking this option called Druidic Warrior, which is then going to give you some druid cantrips to add to your kit. And we wanted to make it easier for ranger players, as we've done in several of the other classes in the new player's handbook, to nudge the class in the direction they want to go with it when it comes to, especially in hybrid classes, how much do I want to lean in the weapon side of my identity, and how much do I want to lean on the spellcasting side?
I do like the flexibility there. I don't know how many good druid cantrips there are. There's like Thorn Whip. I'm blanking on any others. I feel like this is, if I were a player, I would probably rather play druid than play a spellcasting centered ranger. But I'm sure there are players that would be excited for something like this. And I don't want to yuck the yum, as the kids would say. So overall, I don't think that's a bad change at all. And I like the wording of it. It's, what was it, like Druidic Warrior or something like that? I do like that.
At third level, like all the other classes, you get your subclass. We'll come back to those after we've traveled through the whole class. The ranger still has extra attack. At level 6, the ranger gets a feature now called roving, because again, they travel far and wide. And because of this feature, rangers will now have a boost to their speed, a 10-foot boost to be precise, while they aren't wearing heavy armor. And on top of that, All Rangers now at this level also gain a climb speed and a swim speed because Rangers are meant to be the people who are best equipped to explore pretty much any kind of environment. And we support that fantasy both with the class features that are present, but also through the spells. There'll be many familiar spells from the 2014 spell list, but people will also see there are some additions to that list, so it's a bit more robust. And now, whenever a ranger finishes a long rest, they can change one of the spells that
That's actually also that is also a cool picture. I like that he has like the toothpick in his mouth. That's pretty sick, and the face paint and everything.
they have prepared. This is a big change for rangers because it used to be that they had their list of spells and they could only change one of them whenever they would level up. But now it's every day when they finish a long rest,
Nice.
they can change one. So that's back at first level in the spellcasting feature, but I bring it up now talking about just the ranger's exploration side because we made this change in spellcasting to better support the utility side of the ranger's spell use. Because the ranger spell list has more utility than it does have outright damage. And so because of that utility focus, we wanted rangers to be able to at least, change one spell a day, depending on the situation that's ahead of them, at least that they're guessing is ahead of them
Yeah.
in the coming adventuring day. As before, the subclass features keep coming, ability score improvement keeps coming.
I like being able to change a spell every long rest. I hope they do the same thing for a bard. Because I think the bard also can only change every level. They can replace a spell. So I hope they do the same thing for the bard. It would just add a little bit more versatility to what is probably already the most versatile class.
Up at 19th level, like all the classes in the new player's handbook, there's Epic Boon, but they also now get 2 more expertise options. So the ranger is going to be even more skilled,
Yeah.
even more of an expert than they were in 2014. And at 10th level, they get a feature called Tireless. And with this feature, the ranger, a certain number of times per day, can give themselves temporary hit points, representing a resilience that they are drawing into themselves from nature itself. And they also have an always-on ability that whenever they finish a short rest, if they have any exhaustion levels, the number of exhaustion levels they have reduces by 1. Most people have to take a long rest to have their exhaustion go down by 1, but rangers, who again are meant to be the ones who are best equipped to roam across vast distances, their exhaustion goes away faster than most other characters. At level 13, here's where their Hunter's Mark spell starts to improve. So they already always have that spell prepared, and they get a number of free castings of it per day. Starting at level 13, damage can no longer break their concentration on the spell. Still have to concentrate on it. This is important so that the spell can't stack with other things that also require concentration. Then at level 14, you get Nature's Veil, where as a bonus action, you can, again, drawing on the primal magic that you draw on as a ranger, just poof, become invisible. It's sort of a supernatural camouflage. The 2014 ranger had the ability at higher level to easily camouflage themselves, but it required them to loop through hiding, through specifically the hide action. Now, it's far more supernatural where just they're gone.
Yeah.
And they are invisible. So it's going to be easier to use and be more effective as the ranger creeps around, perhaps stalking one of their foes. We also have at level 17 another upgrade to Hunter's Mark, where now the ranger always has advantage on attack rolls against whoever is currently marked by their Hunter's Mark.
Nice.
Level 18, they get Blind Sight. out to 30 feet as they become almost like a creature of the wilds,
Yeah.
being able to, even if they're blinded, see or effectively see around them. And then at 20th level, the damage of their hunter's mark increases. So it is now a D10 rather than a D6. All of this together, when you combine the new features, the enhanced spell list, the ability to use more of your spells as a ranger, means you will be the paramount explorer and sort of survivalist in the wilds, supporting your party with your various abilities, but also being a badass on your own.
Perfect.
I wonder if Hunter's Mark is now a ranger specific spell. I think, or cantrip. I think it's a cantrip. I think it might have been available to maybe one of the fighters and one of the barbarians at one point. So I wonder if it is specific to the ranger now, because it kind of sounds like it might be.
Right. That's amazing. Those are huge changes.
Again, it's a new class.
Yeah.
I mean, it is top to bottom rebuilt, and so much of that done in conversation with the community through Unearthed Arcana.
And heavily focus on that fantasy that you have. As if you are wanting to play a ranger, you're dealing that damage. You're wandering. You are the best at so many things that you should be the best at, and you also can have expertise in the things that you should.
And many of these benefits also are very concrete. One of our misses in the 2014 Ranger is we had some really nice, flavorful abilities having to do with different environments or different types of creatures that didn't really deliver a reliable, concrete game experience. And everything that we've done here has been about delivering the fantasy of the Ranger and doing it in a very direct, fun way so that you get your feature and you get to be rangery.
Yeah.
Then we took that philosophy and carried it into the subclasses. We have the Hunter and the Beastmaster both returning from the 2014 Player's Handbook, but both of them redesigned.
Yeah.
And then they are joined by the Gloomstalker and the Fey Wanderer. How about we talk about the Beastmaster first?
Yeah, let's talk about the Beastmaster, because not only has this class been rebuilt, this is effectively a new subclass as well.
Yeah, so the Beastmaster subclass, it shares the name with the 2014 version and the theme of the ranger who has this supernatural bond with a beast, but otherwise beyond the name and the theme,
It's completely new.
it is a brand new subclass. And people got to see an earlier version of this new subclass in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, specifically in the new creature options, because in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we introduced this idea of these sort of primal beasts that the ranger can bond with, the beast of the land, the beast of the sky, and the beast of the sea. But now you get to see that piece that originally appeared in Tasha's now integrated in with the whole subclass and the whole subclass redone around that. And so now you have a subclass where you and your primal beast are this united unit.
Yeah.
You have this mystical connection with each other. You're now, as a ranger, going to be able to command your beast as a bonus action instead of an action, which means that you will feel much more than you did in the 2014 version, like you and your beast companion are working in tandem with each other. We've made it so that also this beast that you choose, because rather than it being a stat block you go fish out of the monster manual, is one of these 3 stat blocks specifically designed for this subclass. We could make each of these stat blocks sort of level up with you, and each one have its own shtick, whether it's, again, land-related, sky-related, or sea-related.
And as you said, these level up. They gain power over time.
Yes, because they are a fundamental part of your power as a Beastmaster Ranger. And so we wanted to ensure from the inside, by designing these creatures specifically for this subclass, ensure that they are delivering the effectiveness they need to be delivering for you over the course of your career as a Beastmaster. All of it together means I think this is going to be a thrilling subclass, not only for people who have already played a Beastmaster, but also people who've not yet tried it out and had the fun of almost having two characters, because the Beastmaster is one of the few subclasses in the game where it's really about not only playing your ranger, it's also about playing your ranger's beast friend. And that friend can almost take on a role of being like a member of the party. The Beast Companion just keeps getting better with you. What you can do with it in terms of your commands improves, and it culminates with you even being able to share spells with your companion. So that when you cast a spell targeting yourself, you can also have your Beast Companion benefit as well. And all of the improvements inside the subclass mean that you just over time become more and more of this amazing sort of two beings in total sync with each other, working as an exploration and fighting unit.
Oh, that's fascinating. So if I cast a healing spell, that spell may also affect my beast companion at the same time.
As long as it's within 30 feet of you, yeah, you could cast Cure Wounds on yourself, and your beast 30 feet away is then also healed.
Oh, that's amazing.
And also, just again, driving home how you are this unified unit, you also get to the point where your hunter's mark starts benefiting your beast.
Oh, that's strong.
Yes.
when the beast is enjoying hunter's mark, that becomes dangerous. So this brings us to Fey Wanderer Ranger. This came out.
Beastmaster sounds a lot better than it used to, so that's a great accomplishment for the Ranger fans.
This was a really super fun one, because eventually in your roaming, you might have gotten some background radiation from the Feywild, or been under its influence, or maybe that's where you in fact come from.
Yeah, the Fey Wanderer is, along with the Gloomstalker, these two have wandered into the player's handbook to bring the sort of mirror world feeling of the Shadowfell and the Feywild, because those are the planes of existence that we've associated these two subclasses with. And so if you think of the Beastmaster and the Hunter being associated with the material plane, the Fey Wanderer is associated with the Feywild, and the Gloomstalker with the Shadowfell. And so those two subclasses, the Fey Ranger and the shadowy one, they are, in many ways, the more magical rangers of the four provided in this book.
Perfect.
With then the Hunter being the least magical of the four. Now, the Fey Wanderer, it's going to be a fun friend to revisit for anyone who played the Fey Wanderer from Tasha's Cauldron. And what you're going to see here is the features that you loved in the class, but now integrated into the new Ranger, benefiting from the new spells that are here. And in a way, the Fey Wanderer wandered into this book along with some of the spells in Tasha's Cauldron, including Summon Fey, which was something it had in Tasha's Cauldron, and thankfully, because Summon Fey is now in the player's handbook, the Fey Wanderer in the player's handbook can continue to enjoy the ability at higher level of summoning a Fey creature to fight beside the Fey Wanderer. Before you get there, you not only have extra spells that you have always prepared, you can also deal extra psychic damage with some of your strikes as you channel the magic of the Feywild. You also can beguile people with your otherworldly glamour, and ultimately, because we can never resist when it's a Fey-themed subclass, we end up giving you Misty Step so that you can teleport.
it would be disrespectful not to give the players Misty Step. But could we please start calling it Fey Step again if it's a Fey, um, like centered class? Misty Step, I think, is still a great name when it's like just a spell for like a wizard, paladin. Those guys can learn Misty Step. But I do like the flavor of calling it Fey Step when it's a Feywild themed individual. I wanted to bring up a couple of things here. I love that you can beguile people with your appearance. That's really cool. That's a really cool feature for any Fey stuff because it's really centric to like the old fairy tales of Fey creatures, like the Celtic stories and everything. And then I really like that you can do additional psychic damage. I think having psychic damage be a main feature for Fey centered creatures is a really cool detail to put in because of how genuinely confusing the Feywild can be and how it can drive people mad and everything. I love the idea of adding psychic damage to attacks because you're not centering, you're channeling the Feywild into your attacks.
And we also, along the way, we help guard your mind against being charmed or frightened. So the whole package means if you choose this subclass, will be drenched through and through with Fey magic and be a wonderful companion to, and here I'll do it, I'll refer to the Warlock, a wonderful companion to a Warlock who has the Archfey patron.
Yeah.
So, I wish I hadn't paused when I had, because he kept mentioning things that I really liked. I enjoy when they do having advantage with like Charmed and Frightened for Fey related things. Because if you wandered through the Feywild, which is what this class is, you're a Fey wanderer. So you wandered through the Feywild for whatever reason. You might have lived there, you might have gotten trapped there, you might have accidentally stepped into a mushroom circle and just ended up there. If you were wandering through the Feywild, it makes sense that you kind of put up mental defenses over time because the Fae were constantly trying to charm you, or they were constantly trying to frighten you. There are some dark Fae that do have frightened effects. So I really like that little detail there that you have resistances against charmed and frightened because of your subclass being Fae related.
And the two of you can teleport around to your heart's content.
Perfection.
Yes.
God, teleporting with it would be so funny. Like the Warlock cast a spell, teleports. The Ranger cast a spell, teleports to the Warlock, and they dap each other up. That would be hilarious.
That would be Fey chef's kiss.
Yeah.
The sparkly trickster feeling of the Fey Wanderer is in stark contrast to the Gloomstalker, who instead is not only channeling the magic of the Shadowfell, but also just the shadows of the deep places of the earth, because you can also think of this being a ranger associated with the Underdark. And this
I never thought of a Gloomstalker being an Underdark Ranger, but that does make sense. So I think this video conforms in a concern that I had in the past where I thought they were getting rid of some of this stuff. I was worried the Feywild and the Shadowdark, or the Feywild and the Shadowfell were not going to be continued in this new edition. This completely confirms that because he said the Gloomstalker is probably from the Shadowfell. The Fey Wanderer is obviously from the Feywild. And then he just confirmed that the Underdark is staying. My concern still is whether or not we are keeping the Underdark races, because in the species video about like backgrounds and stuff, he said that all of the dwarves are getting 120 feet of dark vision. The Dorgar have 120 feet of dark vision, so I'm worried that the Dorgar no longer exist in this new edition. So we'll see how that goes, but at least the environments are still there. So you still have the Underdark, you still have the Feywild, and you still have Shadowfell.
Subclass originally appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
Yeah, and I've always loved this. Just the core concept of if you rely on your dark vision, you're invisible to them.
Yes.
Terrifying. You're the thing that the knight is afraid of. It's such a wonderful theme for.
You're the thing the knight is afraid of is such a bar dropped by Todd right there. That is so cool. That is probably the coolest way he could have said that, is you are the thing that the knight is afraid of.
For a subclass, it's just chilling.
Well, and we've made it so that as you are hunting those creatures of the darkness, you're going to be even better at it.
Yeah.
One of the things we did right away in the subclass in your level 3 Dread Ambusher feature is we made it so that your extra damage is no longer locked to the first round of combat.
Yeah.
We wanted you to be able to enjoy being a Gloomstalker throughout a battle, if you so choose, and not essentially, well, I was a Gloomstalker on round 1, and then for the rest of the time I was a generic ranger. But now we've made it so that you will be able to use your Dreadful Strike, also psychic damage, because I introduced the Gloomstalker as, in a way, the foil to the Fey Wanderer.
Yeah.
And just as the Feywild and the Shadowfell are almost sort of opposites of each other, but they often both have to do with the mind and the emotions.
Yeah.
It's interesting that both of these subclasses, their extra damage is psychic damage.
And the Gloomstalker.
I have never thought of the Shadowfell and the Feywild like that. So they do make it apparent in 5e that the Shadowfell and the Feywild are reflections of the material plane. So the Shadowfell is a dark reflection. The Feywild is more of like a whimsical reflection. And what he's saying is they reflect both a like emotional side of things. So that's why it's psychic damage themed. And I've never thought of it like that. The Shadowfell does reflect more of like despair, hopelessness. But the Feywild, like I said, it's a very whimsical place, but it does reflect like mania and confusion and like psychological issues. You do over time go a little bit insane living in the Feywild. But I think at the same time, if you take a moment to consider it, you would over time go insane living in the Shadowfell for a different reason. The Feywild, you're going to go insane because nothing makes sense there. The terrain changes, all of the people are very like cheerful most of the time, but with very strict rules, like the rules of reciprocity and everything like that that exist in the Feywild. So you're just living in a constant state of confusion, fear, because there's a lot of loopholes in the Feywild that could negatively impact your life, like getting charmed by an archfey, making a deal with somebody that you shouldn't have made, going into an area of the forest that belongs to somebody. And the Shadowfell, if you're in that despair and hopelessness and like physically dark environment, cold environment, because it gets a little bit colder in the Shadowfell, you never see sunlight. Eventually, you're going to fall into a deeper and deeper depression. Your anxiety is going to get worse. You're going to always be looking behind your back because there's so many threats there that are a little bit more tangible than the Feywild threats. Like there's a bunch of wolves outside because it's always night out. There's werewolves, there's vampires, there's a bunch of undead. I've been ranting for too long, but I do really like the way that Jeremy Crawford worded that, of the reflections of each other that still kind of relate to the psyche somehow.
Does a significant amount of psychic damage every turn.
But a limited number of times per day.
Yes.
It's not endless.
But it's bursty. It's a good amount of damage. It's healthy.
They like their Fey sibling also have a list of spells that they always have prepared. They have their umbral sight, which gives them dark vision or improves their dark vision if they already have it. As you mentioned, other creatures that rely on dark vision to see in the dark can't see
Yeah.
the Gloomstalker in the dark.
Yeah.
Again, terrifying.
They're great.
Oh, that is so cool. I didn't know that was a feature. So if somebody has dark vision, the Gloomstalker is pretty much invisible to them. That is so sick. I really like that.
Initiative.
Yes, they are. They are like their friends. The assassin and the barbarian are going to be more likely to go earlier in the battle than others.
The whole concept of this is the ambusher, this is the hunter in the night, this is in the spell list reflects all that as well. I mean, it's unusual to see like the ranger with disguised self, for example. You are very much one with the shadows and illusion.
They also, like their sibling, the Fey Wanderer, they end up having various mental defenses, and then also they're going to start being even more terrifying at level 11 with their Stalker's Flurry, because their psychic damage goes up. And so that,
Even more.
Yeah, so that bursty damage bursts even more. And also they can start exuding mass fear to
All around them.
all around them. And they also can teleport once you get up to level 15, teleport out of harm's way when they are attacked. So all of this combined means they are really terrifying, resilient hunters in the night.
And there's so many different ways to flavor this one in particular too, because this could be the Van Helsing who is hunting vampires, or this can be a ranger who solely lives in cities or in the Underdark. There's so many ways to theme it.
Yeah.
I love this ranger.
It is, in many ways, is.
Ooh, I like the idea of having Van Helsing as a Gloomstalker. That is really cool because you are kind of hunting in the dark to attack an enemy that has normally pretty high perception and everything, but just can't see you because you're a Gloomstalker. And then he gave another example that I liked, and I don't remember what it was.
Cities or in the Underdark. There's so many ways to theme it.
Oh, a monster hunter in the city, in the Shadowfell and Underdark.
I love this ranger.
It is, in many ways, is the Gloomstalker is the sort of gothic ranger.
Yeah. Perfect. I like gothy things.
You?
No. Okay, now that brings us to the hunter ranger. This is the low magic ranger.
This is, in many ways, sort of the subclass that is the baseline.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we took the version of the hunter that was in 2014, took the best elements of it, and sort of remixed the whole subclass. So it too, like the Beastmaster, is really close to just being a brand new subclass.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Part of that is you get a brand new feature at level 3 called Hunter's Lore. And this allows you that while a creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, to know whether that creature has any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. And if that creature does, you know what they are.
Oh, perfect.
So you now are really good at hunting because you know, we shouldn't use fire on this particular creature, or we should use radiance on this creature. So this right away was a fun feature for us to create to help the hunter just be a better hunter. Then you get to the Hunter's Prey feature, and here you have a choice, just as the hunter used to have a choice in this feature. But the choices, we basically whittled, in each of the choice points in the subclass, we whittled the choices down to the best ones. In the 2014 version, at each of the choice points, there was always basically a suboptimal choice. And so what we've done is we've narrowed it to the best choices so that whatever you choose, it's a solid choice. And then we went one step beyond that. We've now made it so that you can change your choice whenever you finish a short or long rest. This makes these features far more tactically useful because then you can sort of steer your effectiveness toward what you think you face in the day or the hours ahead. We do this shtick again at level 7 in defensive tactics. You have a choice, and then you can revisit your choice whenever you finish a short or long rest. And you'll see familiar friends here in the features and Escape the Horde and Multi-Attack Defense. At level 11, the Hunter now also lets you, when you have Hunter's Mark on a creature, and you deal damage to them, you can also deal that spell's extra damage to a different creature within 30 feet of the first creature.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's essentially your Hunter's Mark starts splashing damage on other people. We did this because the Hunter has always had this, when you looked at the choices that the subclass offered, it has always had this element of, I'm going to deal more damage to this single target, or I'm going to be really effective at fighting an entire group.
Yeah.
We continue to have those themes inside the subclass.
Yeah, the Horde Breaker is fantastic. I just love that.
But now with Superior Hunter's Prey, this new feature speaks to both themes because you can now deal a lot of damage to one target and throw some damage on somebody else.
Perfect.
And then at level 15, you can take a reaction to give yourself resistance to damage when you take damage, and then that resistance lasts until the end of your current turn. So this is just a chance for you to sort of grit your teeth through the damage that you're taking to enhance your survivability.
Yeah.
Because we want the Hunter to, whether the Hunter is leaning more in a ranged attack direction or in a melee direction, to have really high resilience as they embark on their hunts.
This is a good ranger for the zombie apocalypse.
Well,
you're just mowing through hordes.
The nice thing about the Hunter Ranger, especially in the new player's handbook, is it's the ranger who's good in any situation.
Yeah.
Precisely because you can change your kit.
Yeah.
And so this is the, to use an old TV reference, this is sort of the MacGyver ranger.
Yeah.
Who, it's like, they've got the tool for the job. Just give them a minute or an hour in the case of the short rest.
Thank you for these massive changes to the ranger. People are really going to appreciate all the newness in here and like that wish fulfillment that people have wanted with the ranger.
I can't wait for people to play it.
The new players.
Okay. So something with the Hunter Ranger. I don't know much about Rangers, so I'm not sure what these things are that you can change every short rest. I'm curious about that. They did not go too in detail about it, and that might have been a time management thing. Most of the videos have been about the half-hour mark. I am excited for the Ranger changes overall. The Gloomstalker is great. That's the only Ranger I had any interest in playing before watching this video. Now, there's a very high chance I play Fey Wanderer Ranger one day. The Feywild's my favorite realm of D&D, and it sounds so cool. I really would like to do a campaign now where I play Fey Wanderer and another player plays the Gloomstalker, and maybe we're like separated siblings. One got sent to the Feywild, the other one got sent to the Shadowfell, and then we reconnected for like a higher quest. And I think that would be really cool. I've also just always wanted to play a sibling character. So I'm very interested in both of those subclasses. The Beastmaster and the Hunter seem like they have been greatly improved. I think those two classes are the reason that people look down on the Ranger so often. You always hear comments in the TTRPG community about how the Ranger is just a bad class. And the 2024 Player's Handbook seems to be fixing that a decent amount and making them a more formidable and hopefully respected class in D&D. So those are my thoughts on the new Ranger for the 2024 Player's Handbook. I think the future is looking pretty bright for the Ranger. If you disagree or you just want to talk more about the Ranger, please leave a comment. We can discuss. Maybe I'm missing something. Like I said, I haven't really played a Ranger, so some of these changes might be worse for the class than what I'm realizing. But from what I understand, it seems like a lot of improvements. If you liked this video, you can leave a like. You know how that goes. Likes are great. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when these videos release. We're going to be going through all of the stuff that D&D has been releasing on YouTube in preparation for the Player's Handbook releasing later this year. Other than that, I hope everybody is having a great day. And until next time, peace.